Hey,
Conrad,
I
nice
was
to
like
meet you.
virtual, shake your hand. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so that is a sign up for a personal brand consult.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I already did it.
Yeah,
I
perfect.
signed up.
Yay, I know. I got my name up there.
Okay.
Of course.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll reach back.
Okay, guys, I just turned on the live, but I'm not sure if anybody's in here. So go ahead and give me a comment or something if you're in here so I know. We do have a sponsor today, but it says I've got 2 eyeballs on here, so that's good. So I'll introduce Tisha in just a second. I want to make sure we get a couple more people in here because she's got some great things to share. And let's
I'm going to be looking at you guys out of my other eye.
out of your other eye.
There's people online too.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up our sponsor today, and she's going to talk to you guys are missing out, those of you who are not here. It's a full house. We're super excited to be going over our content today, but we're glad that you're joining us online. I'll be relying on the in-house audience to just really raise up the energy.
All right.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody, and so happy to be sponsoring this class, Kristi, for you. First question is, when you think of your personal brand, what comes to mind? Is it non-existent? You guys can raise your hands, even you online. It is non-existent. Conrad saying, yes, it's me, non-existent. Do you have no idea where to start or why you even need a personal brand? Or if you're online, have you deemed it officially a hot mess because you're just winging it? All right, well, my name is Tisha. I am a forum member. My company is Tisha Marie Enterprises, and that's exactly what I do. I help people build strong personal brands, especially in the real estate market, thinking about how saturated of an industry this is and how you need to be standing out in a sea of sameness. We all see those posts where it's house, and there's no personality. And that's what we do. So we do this in a couple of different ways. We have a DIY program where we host this personal brand builder challenge. I'm just coming off of my challenge today. It's a free 5-day virtual event where we show you how to lay the foundation of your personal brand. The other thing we do is on January 8th, I'm hosting a virtual personal brand builder live event. It's a 3-hour workshop where it's breakout sessions, it's speaker sessions, we're really going to be diving in and building your brand strong for 2021. And the last thing I want to share is that I have a personal brand toolkit. So if you were just like, I have no idea, I don't know what to do, I don't want to do this by myself, this is a complete done with you program where we give you all of the essentials and turn your bland brand into rock star status. So those are the things that I provide as a personal brand builder. My company is Tisha Marie Enterprises, if I haven't mentioned. So if that is you and you are kind of tired of just, blending in and not knowing what to do and you're just winging it or not doing anything at all, this is a great opportunity to learn how to do those things. I have a flyer in the back of the room, so you guys can see that for all of you people in this room today. This is the Personal Brand Builder Challenge. I'm just coming off of the challenge today, but you can get in. Conrad, for instance, you can get in and take the challenge that I'm just ending, the next one coming up in March. Or you can sign up for a personal brand consultation. This is a complimentary consult where I sit with you and we just talk about what's your strategy and get you on your way. So I have my contact information for those of you online. You can book that through me at bit.ly/personal brand consultation. That's how you get on my calendar, or you can find me at tishaMarie.com. I also just want to give a shout out. Dan Button is in the house. Dan, say hi to everybody. Dan is, he's a realtor here with eXp, and he's also one of my clients in the Personal Brand Toolkit program. So if any of you are like, who is this girl? How does she work? He's such a great resource to be able to grab some insight.
You want to come say hi?
Come say hi, Dan, since these are people that you may be seeing. Yes, actually, Dan and I met here at the forum during the summertime. Yep. So this is Dan Button, my awesome client that I get to work with nonstop on building his personal brand. So Dan, do you want to say anything?
I just want to say, don't be afraid to get that free consult from Tisha and just ask for some help and get some guidance. It doesn't cost you anything but 30 minutes and it's well worth your time.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dan. And Dan will be in the orange room if you guys have any questions for him. I'm going to just give a couple of flyers and so forth, but I think we're good to go. And thank you guys for having me today. And it's been a pleasure sponsoring this class. And happy holidays. Happy holidays to everybody online. All righty, we'll go ahead and make sure that we post her information in the forum chat. Oh, and we do have 2 comments. Good morning, good morning. Okay, so people are coming in, which is awesome, to the live, and I'll go ahead and share my screen now. Okay, like I said, I'm going to rely on you guys to bring the energy here because somehow we got to get that through to all of our users here that are joining us on social media, which I love. When I first got into the business, it was kind of funny because it was like, oh, a business plan. And I had remembered like doing business plans in my entrepreneurial class and different things like that. So what my idea of a business plan was and what I actually ended up doing in real estate was completely different. But the one thing that I do remember is that I went through all this trouble to make a business plan that I didn't look at for the rest of the year. And so that's my goal today, is that you guys will have actionable. I'm so glad computers, if you guys at your, obviously you're on a device of some sort, but I will be sharing a link to the tools that we're going to use during the class today. The goal is that you leave with at least a 90-day actionable plan. I like working in 90-day blocks because it's not as overwhelming, right? Like trying to plan out an entire year is almost suffocating. So I like to work in 90-day blocks. Plus it's very scalable and repeatable. There are 4 quarters, 3 months in each quarter, 90 days. So anything that you want, but also like, can I just put a little chime in there? Why are we working right now, December, whatever, 12th, what is today? The 11th, December 11th. Why are we working in December when everybody else in the industry is not? Because we need money. Someone says because we need money. I'm going to go to the comments. Comment, why are we working? Is it because I'm going to get a paycheck on Friday for the work that I do right now? Future business, right? Everything we do right now, guys, when are we going to get paid for it?
3 months.
60 to 90 days from now. Every once in a while we get that cash buyer, that's going to close right away, or we get the listing that gets a cash buyer that closes right away. But for the most part, all of the business that we do comes in 30, 60, 90-day cycles. And as a realtor, it's very difficult to keep that in mind when you want to just kind of, relax and just kind of cruise. But guys, this is where your momentum is gained, because I will tell you that most of the industry is already doing that. Like, it's ridiculous. The agents that we have to work with, right? I know it's not you guys because you're here personally developing your business, but we work with a lot of agents that just they're gonna just take off. And so my name's Kristi Jencks. I think I mentioned that. Those are my social handles. And I am the team leader and head coach at the Big Helper Realty Group. And before that, before EXP, we were with Revelation for all of my career. So I've only been at 2 brokerages, at Revelation and at EXP. And I've loved every single minute of it. So part of the reasons I teach these classes is because I'm super passionate about giving back to my real estate community. And you can partner with me in a couple different ways. So we have an EXP mastermind that we run on Fridays, and we're always looking for agents who want to work on our team. So you can learn more about our team at thebighelperrealtygroup.com. And of course, it's always, private consultation type thing. Even if you're curious, should I join a team or should I not join a team? I challenge you to reach out, because I believe in transparency. And I'll just say, yeah, a team's not for you, right? I want to partner with people that want to be in a team environment and do that kind of stuff. So we have a lot of fun things that we do on our team, and we're always looking to help people. So let's jump in. Before we can start planning for 2021, I want us to start thinking about, what does my business look like right now? Okay, so I want you to write down on your paper. I see you guys got notes. Go through, we're going to just take a couple minutes, and I want you to write down where you're at right now. Let's start physically, and I'll just kind of talk as you guys fill in. So physically, right now, are you where you want to be? Maybe it's a plus or delta. Your family life.
Maybe that's the family you live with, your extended family. How are your relationships? Do your kids recognize you? Do they see you? Have you been going on date nights and things like that? Your income and your wealth. Right now is a perfect time to reflect. We're in December, and did we make the money that we wanted to and needed to make this year? Your career. Where are you at right now in your business, and are you happy with where you're at? How's your attitude? Right? Is it full of excuses? Is it excited? Is it like unsure? Really don't know what to do? Confused? Scared? I mean, there's a lot of different things going on in the world right now, and it's understandable. And what about your social life? How is, life outside of work? Is it all work and no social life? Or maybe it's the opposite, and it's all social life and no work. Thus, your income and wealth is not, where you want it to be. How's your spirituality? Whatever spirituality it is that you believe in, are you taking the time to recharge and re-energize and build yourself mentally? And of course, contribution. Are you participating in things that bring joy, happiness, and excitement to your life? So it's always good to do that little audit right now. Speaking in 90-day cycles, I like to do an audit every single quarter, and it usually looks like 4 questions. So I would take something like physically, and I'd say, okay, Kristi, what am I doing that's working? And what am I doing that's not working? Then I would take 2 more questions, and I'd say, what do I need to start doing? And what do I need to stop doing, right? So it's basically what's working, what's not working. Do more, do less, start and stop. Every 90 days, it's really good to ask yourself those questions, and even into a category audit like this one. So I want to share with you guys just real quick this clip, specifically because he mentions a couple things in this clip that I feel are pretty powerful.
What I'd like you to do right now, I want you to think about your dream, because I'm in a room full of dreamers. Think about your dream right now. I want you to think about it and envision it.
Dreams without goals are just dreams. I set pretty high goals for myself.
What are my goals for the short term? What are my goals for the long term?
Make a list of 101 things you want to achieve before you die. I was sharing this with someone last night. He said, God, that just seems like a really big task. And I said, Mom, I don't have any time. When am I going to do that? We know that one of the things about high achievers, they all have goals. Only 10% of Americans set goals every year. 10%. We also know the same 3 to 10% control 90% of the resources of the world. So literally, without goals, you're directionless. You will be used. See, people without goals get used by other people who have them. People that don't have goals work for people who do. And so you want to be someone who picks up and gets clear about what you want. Make a list, 101 goals. I want to go to Paris. I want to, skydive. I want to bungee cord jump. I want to play the guitar. I want to learn to juggle. I want to learn 2 magic tricks for the kids. I want to go to the Olympics in Beijing. Whatever it is, make the list. And you'll see there's a lot of stuff under there that you've kind of put down that you want, and you can have anything you want.
Okay. So anything kind of stand out to you in that 2 minutes of what they were saying?
People that don't have goals work for people that do.
I'm so glad that you pulled that out. So less than 10% of the population set goals, and of the people that do, they control the mass amount of the economy and, the resources, I think is the word that he used in that. And it's so true. If you don't have goals, you're going to go end up working for someone who has goals because they're getting their crap together, right? I do a lot of book reviews, and the name of my show is Getting Your Crap Together with Kristi. Because oftentimes what I find is that people are well-intentioned, but they don't take the time to stop and organize themselves. Or they do the complete opposite, and all they do is organize. They organize, and never get into action. So you've kind of got this like all action, no organization, and all organization and no action. But it starts with setting your intentions. And that's why you guys are here today. We're going to make some declarations. We're going to start by making some decisions on what we want 2021 to look like. Right? Like, what do we want? When you're sitting in December of next year, you can say, hey, I did that. And you can feel good. And, they often say, shoot for the moon. And even if you fall, you fail, you'll get to the stars. There is a lot of power in just setting these crazy goals. I was working with an agent yesterday, and she has some credit card debt that she wants to pay off. And she told me the amount, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's totally easy. Her mindset was so limited. She was like, I just don't even know how I'm ever going to do that. And I'm like, okay, hold on. We're realtors. Tell me what other industry, okay, for 90 hours and less than $2,000, you can make the massive amounts of money that we make. She's also a mom. And I said, okay, there's no better industry for a parent to be in. You want flexibility to be able to go to soccer games, to go to cheer, to do whatever, then be a realtor. You want to have no ceiling on the amount of money that you can make, give good service, be a realtor. Why the failure rate is so high in real estate is because people lack discipline, right? They lack the discipline to do the work. They think, yeah.
You said that nicely. People are lazy. Bottom line, end of the day, they are lazy.
Yes, people are lazy. They lack the discipline. So I want to take a moment, and I want you to push away your limiting beliefs right now. Okay. I don't want you to say, oh, but I drive a Dodge Stratus, so I can't do this. Or I have 7 kids. Like, legitimately, I have 7 kids. The people who know me, I have 7 kids. So I can't. I don't have enough time. I don't have the resources. I don't have money. I don't have affluence. I don't want to hear your excuses. I want you to literally free your mind from your excuses right now. And I want you to declare, what would 2021 look like in these categories? Okay. So write down physically. Again, don't let the negative voice inside your head creep in. Physically, what do you want to achieve? Is that doing an Ironman? Is that running your first marathon? Heck, is that running a 5K? Like, I don't know. Is that, clean eating? What would physically you look like and feel like from a health standpoint if you didn't listen to the voices in your head that tell you that you can't? What would you do? What would your family life look like? When I say family, I want you to think about the family that you choose, which obviously is our friends, the family that you were born into or adopted into. What is your relationship like? Again, what's your relationship with your children, your nieces, your nephews, your siblings? Is it what you want it to be? This is the one that people really struggle with. How much money do you need to make and save? How many investment properties are you going to buy? Because I can tell you right now, there's so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity. So how much money?
I think that what you mentioned there, though, too, is like, how much money do you need to make? And it's breaking it down to a need, and then what do you want to make?
Absolutely. How much money do you need? So figure out what your operating expenses are for your business and for your family. Then add on your savings goal and add on your investing goal. Guys, we buy real estate at wholesale. How many of us are taking advantage? Why are you busting your butt for 3%? Okay. Or if you're working for, some of these no-name companies that now their co-broke is 2% or 1%, right? Some of the builders out there, one of the builders is only paying like 1.5% until you sell 2 or more homes. So why are you busting your butt for a percentage when you could be investing and making those gains? Obviously, we're going to help our clients, but think big. Think big. Career-wise. Right? Is there a title that you're going after, right? We were talking about, before class started, we were talking a little bit about love languages, but, are you trying to get the president's circle? If you're with EXP, are you trying to become an icon agent, right? Icon agent, earn back all the money that you've given to EXP and more. By the way, if you haven't looked at the stocks today for EXP, it's bananas. It's pretty awesome. So what does your career look like? What training have you taken? Do you have a new designation, right? What are the achievements that you're looking to do in your career and not your job, right? Like if this isn't just a job, this is what we choose and get to do. Then looking at this time next year, how's your attitude? Are you excited about life? Are you dreading the next year? Are you dreading having to figure out how you're going to pay your taxes? Are you dreading the holidays because you're in conflict with everybody? Do you have a growth mindset and realize you have so much untapped potential? What's your social life? Did you have a social life? Did you have fun? Did you, this year, obviously, we didn't vacation, but did you plan the things that speak? Actually, that's not true. I have several friends that vacation, they just didn't fly and go to different countries, but they found other ways to have fun. And maybe that's just hiking, right? Or car shows or whatever, right? Of course, spiritually, are you at peace? I think that's what's really important, that because this job is very stressful, right? It's very, very stressful. Also, all of these handouts are at, let me post this link real quick. So for the people online, I thought I had a slide in here, but I might have forgot to put it in. So at bighelpertraining.com, it'll ask for your name and your email. That's so that I can send you all of the resources. So it's just me. I'm not selling your information to anyone, but you'll get all the resources to today's class, all of the slides, all of the handouts, this handout included. So that's at bighelpertraining.com. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. We're going to actually get into, I'm dyslexic, so this backwards moving my mouse the opposite direction, it's messing with my brain. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. We're going to get a little down and dirty and figure out how many transactions do we need to do by lead source, right? So we're going to backwards map your income goal and then figure out what does it take to get that done. We're going to figure out how much sales volume by side, buyer, seller, and then what's your commission split and net. What are we going to net? Because that's important, right? Do any of you guys know a realtor that sells a lot of homes and has no money? Yeah, it can happen. You can nickel and dime yourself in all these subscriptions and different things, and then, or just not manage your money and sell a ton of real estate, and at the end of the day have no money. And that's not my goal for you guys. We're going to look at the total number of appointments that you need, buyer appointments, listing appointments. And then, of course, we probably won't have time to go into the budgeting expenses, but I mean, you guys should really be watching your expenses. So those are just some of the things that we're going to dive into. So you have your laptop, so I'm going to have you go to the bighelpertraining.com, and you can open up this document. So let me come back over to this screen and grab, I'll bring this over here. It is very difficult for me to do this without seeing. Okay, so for everybody here, this is what it looks like. And what I'm opening up is the goals template. So when you access this document at home and on your computer, what you're going to do is you're actually going to, you're going to come over here and you're going to go to File and make a copy. Okay, so what I'm giving you access to is just a view-only version. Yes, I can airdrop it. Let me just test the URL right up here. Is it Big Helper Training, Kelsey? Did I mess that up? Big Helper Training.com. BIGHELPER training.com. It'll take you here. But then does it take you to a bad place? Because if that doesn't work, then that's where my link is wrong. I'm just making sure.
Oh, it worked this time.
Okay, and then you can come down here and
Sorry.
no worries, and you just grab a class, and then it takes you here. You come right here to business planning, and now you are able to click on that top link. Here, let me click on this one. The top link is this one right here, which is the goals template sheet, which we're going to be working off of. So again, with the goals template sheet, and all of that was for naught because I'm sharing the wrong screen. Oh, stop screen share. I want to screen a specific tab, which is this one. Okay, yay. Now the audience can see what we're looking at. Okay, so that's why I said this is interactive. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to File and make a copy. So that way you can do it. If you don't have your computer, that's fine. Just follow along. It's very easy to do. So I am actually going to work off of the, I'm going to make a copy of this, and we're going to go ahead and do this together and build this out. So I believe in being very practical. I could say, yes, I want to net $1 million, but if I don't know how to get there, it's really, really hard, right? Like I've got to know how to get there. So on this document, you're going to see a couple things. We're going to go over prospecting goals. Then you'll be able to map out your prospecting hours and your closing goal per month. And then down here are just some lead sources. Again, you'll be able to edit this and put in your own lead sources if you work specific lead source that I don't work or something like that. So when you get a minute, you'll go through, and I want you to put in your business for 2020. Where did it come from? This is really, really important part because I mentioned I work in 90-day cycles, and I ask myself, what do I need to start doing? What's working? I need to do more of that. What's not working? I need to do less of that. What do I need to start and what do I need to stop? So looking at your lead sources, if you are spending money on social media ads and you haven't set any appointments and haven't closed any business, your ROI is not very good. And so we're going to need to change our strategy. So with any lead source, you want to go back and you want to look at if it's working. So a lot of agents that I work and coach, the majority of their business comes from their past client, repeat, and referral, or also known as their sphere or center of influence, which is fantastic. That is one of the most amazing lead sources, and that shows that you give really good service and you have a system to follow up. And if you don't, I do teach a class on that, so keep an eye on the calendar for the database management system that I teach. But that's why we need to know, right? So where did my business come from this year? And is there any opportunity to improve upon that lead source? Would you guys be surprised? Well, let me just ask. We'll do a little pop quiz. How many lead sources, or we call them lead pillars on our team, how many lead sources or pillars do you think that the top agents have in the top teams?
2 to 3.
2 to 3? What do you think? Not sure. That's okay. It's actually at least 10. It's crazy. I like to coach to at least 4. And we call them the core 4. And the core 4 would be open houses, which is a great lead source because it's very inexpensive. It's sweat equity, right? Online leads. Online leads can be any source. That can be social media, if you pay for Zillow, right? Like, I'm not going to get into the Zillow fight with you. Online leads, you have to have an online presence because people will Google you. And, you know, it's super important. So open houses, online leads, a geographical farm or a demographic farm. But what that means is like an intended place that you're trying to get business. And then, of course, your database. Where I see a lot of agents fall short and not get the business that they want is they only work their database, or they only work their database in their open house. So I keep mentioning that I coach. The reason that's important is I'm a Tom Ferry coach. So I coach for Tom Ferry International. So I have coaching clients all over the United States and in Canada. And one of the things that I found this year in particular with the agents that I coach is that if they only had 1 or 2 lead pillars, this year really jacked them up, okay? Because in California, you can't do open houses, like legitimately. Now, we have found very innovative ways to do open houses through COVID-19 and through the pandemic. But get this, in New York, like this is crazy, and I hope I don't offend anybody. I'll probably get hate mail later. In New York, you're not allowed to call for sale by owners. You're not allowed to call expired listings. You're not allowed to circle prospect, door knock, or open house. Legitimately. They're in a state of emergency and they're not allowed to do that. And I respect that, right? Like, I get it. You know, people can't go into work, so maybe they start working or they're freaking out and they don't want to, you know, state of frenzy. But if your whole business is built on open houses and you can't do open houses, this isn't theoretical, guys. Like, this happened to many of the agents in our industry this year. So I want you guys to pick at least 4 lead pillars, and I'm going to urge you to get 5, 6 if you can. Absolutely. So the 4 lead pillars that I always encourage agents to start with is 1, in no particular order, because I'm going to do it in a different order than I said the first time. The first one, database, meaning your past clients, your center of influence, your sphere, your friends, right? And a good starting place for that is to get to 100 people. So a lot of people are going to be like, I just moved here, I don't know anybody. And I'm going to say, and get to 100 people. One of the agents that work for the brokerage that I absolutely adore, his name's Ruben. And I remember when I first got into the business, he came to a class like this and he talked about, he was so committed to being successful that he would hand out business cards at the gas station. Like, every time he got gas, he would hand out a business card. I don't know about you, but that's some commitment, right? So if your database is less than 100, I'm going to encourage you to get it to 100 as quickly as possible and start working those people in a very specific, scalable fashion. So database, online leads of any source. There are over 45 referral networks that you do not have to pay up front. They give you leads, you pay when you close. Yes, it sucks to pay a referral fee, but I'd rather get a slice of a watermelon than nothing, right? When it comes, because you're not paying for the lead up front. So just to name a few, like Estately is a referral fee. So they'll send you buyer leads and seller leads. And if you can get them under contract, then you pay at closing a 35% referral fee. So again, does it stink? Yes, but I'm going to take that person and turn them from an Estately lead into my past client, who's then going to refer me and build this massive referral tree of ongoing revenue. So that's my take on the referral fee, is that I'm willing to pay it because I'm so good at retaining my clients that they will use me to sell and buy, and they will refer me. You should have that same confidence. So online leads, database, a geographic farm. And a geographic farm does not have to start with mailing. So don't think, oh my gosh, that's so expensive. There is a sweat equity way to do geographic farming. You can even do it digitally. There's so much that you can do online digitally to work a specific area, you know, that it hashtags, putting a digital net over a specific area, working a zip code, right? Oh my gosh, yes. With Facebook and Google, you can do a lot with that. So the core 4, open houses was the last one, and doing open houses and being creative. So several of my friends are doing appointment only open houses in California. So it's still an open house, but you have to schedule an appointment. And they're doing it completely a touchless experience, which is awesome because people register like real email addresses. Imagine that, getting real email addresses and phone numbers at open houses, right? So there's a lot of opportunity there. Okay, so at least those core 4. Someone on Facebook also said 4. So a couple ideas. You've got, of course, cold calling, which is circle prospecting, for sell by owners, expired listings, door knocking, and, you know, build a completely new lead source by maybe business to business. Have a networking group, right? Have a networking group. There's just get creative, like legitimately get creative. But the most important thing is that you have more than 4. So if something ever happens to one source of your business, like say you move to another area and now you no longer have a past client and sphere, you can still know how to generate. Okay, so let's go up to the top of this document and let's just work it out. So the first question, so what is it, 4B? The first question you want to ask yourself is, how much time am I going to spend calling my database? I will also say that it could be calling, texting, direct messaging, private messaging, but not email, okay? This section is to elicit a two-way conversation. So the question is, how many hours a week am I going to spend working my database to get appointments and to have conversations? Most people, I put around 1 to 2. So I'll be conservative and I'm going to put 1 hour. So let's say I spend, because it's only one of my lead sources, I spend 1 hour a week, and it may not be enough. We'll see that when we run the numbers. 1 hour a week working my database. Now, database calls tend to be a little bit longer. This is why it's so important that you guys track your numbers, is that I know that I can get between 4 and 5 conversations in an hour when I'm calling my database. And my database consists of my past client, repeat, referral, family, friends, anybody like that, not leads. I'm not talking about leads from open houses. We're talking about the database. Those are longer conversations. So I may make 10 or 12 calls, but I'm only going to talk to maybe 4 or 5 people in an hour because they're longer calls. So I'm going to put in here my estimated contacts per hour is about 5. So if I spend 1 hour a week working my database, I'm going to get 5 conversations. Now, cold calling, circle prospecting, just listed, just sold. This has been a big boost this year. I'm teaching a class on this here at the forum at the end of the month. Carol Gruber used to teach it. I'm taking over that class for her, and I'm adding circle prospecting to it. But basically, any type of cold calling, expireds for sell by owners, and circle prospecting, you're going to want to use a dialer, like legitimately. I would not recommend anybody go into that lead source if they're not going to invest in a dialer. It's too time consuming to hand dial. So my data from my team is if I'm using a triple line dialer, which means that are you guys tracking with me when I say triple line? So it's calling 3 people at one time. If I'm using a triple line dialer, I can talk to 20 people in 2 hours. So about 10 people an hour. And I will usually add 2 people to my database. So I've sat next to a guy, one of my good friends, like on his 3rd call, he set a listing appointment. It was ridiculous. I've called for weeks and weeks and weeks and didn't set a listing appointment. So I will tell you that it is absolutely a numbers game. And it also depends. Like if you're circle prospecting, those are very cold leads. Like you're just, that's kind of like the shotgun approach where you're just trying to get everybody. If you're calling expireds, those people have already made a decision to sell. So the contact conversation ratio is a little bit different. So let's say that I'm going to add that as a lead pillar, and I'm going to spend 2 hours. And again, I get 10 conversations per hour using a triple line dialer. And again, if you don't know these, just start estimating. Think about yourself, think about your business or if this is not a lead source for you, just leave it blank. But door knocking, so same thing, door knocking. Typically on our team, what we see is that if you spend an hour door knocking, that you can usually get somewhere between like 6 to 10 people, right? Now, if you're doing like Circle G, where the homes are really far apart, it might be a little bit different. But the idea is try to get an understanding of how many people. I'm going to leave this a little bit more conservative though, and I'm going to say 6 people. Open houses. This one's always crazy. How many hours of open houses do you do a week, and how many conversations per open house? So the one thing that people always say is like, well, I've done an open house and nobody's come through. I'm like, yes, I know, I've done an open house like that too. This past weekend, my husband did an open house where before they even did the open house, they had 10 groups of people in line, right? So there were hundreds of people that came through that open house. The day before, one of our friends sat that same open house and she said she talked to like one person in an hour. So you just want to average this. And typically I say for every hour, you're probably going to get 2 groups of people or 2, right? Like don't say 10 because that means you're getting 40 people in an open house. If you're doing a 4-hour open house, right? Like, so for me, I do not do an open house every single week. If I did, I would put 4 hours here. So let's say that I'm doing an open house every week and I'm going to just do a 4-hour open house. Some agents I know do 2 open houses every week. So that's kind of where you're designing where you're going to get your business from. And again, it's, 2 people per hour that you're doing an open house. So that would be an awesome open house consistently. If I got 8 real conversations, got their information, right? And out of those 8, I'm pulling out at least 1 or 2 viable people that I'm going to nurture and or set an appointment with immediately, right? It's just because it's a numbers game. So currently, without any other lead sources, I'm at 39 conversations a week right now. But let's say that, let's just leave it at that. Again, you switch out whatever lead source that you want, but it's so important that you know where you're going to get your business from. We're not just like hoping that it just shows up at our doorstep. So that's all lead generation. Think of that as prospecting, outbound calls, outbound effort to get people in whatever way, shape, or form. Then we talk about online leads. Well, that's inbound. And I can't really control inbound leads. I'm really at the mercy of that unless I just increase you can increase the amount of money you spend, but that still doesn't mean that I can determine how many are coming in. It's more passive. And that comes into the follow-up section. So all the time people ask me, well, how much? Well, first of all, agents are really bad at follow-up. So I'm just going to tell you right now, make it a goal to follow up and follow through. You will do a ton more business if you just did that. If you implemented a simple thing where you said, I follow up and I follow through, you could probably double your business.
Kristi, I don't want to bug them. Oh,
okay, I don't want to bug them, and that's so true. I'm going to go over some statistics with you on that right now. So my team, we are a Zillow Flex partner. So we do get Zillow leads. So we purchased Zillow leads for a long time, and I know that they're the devil. Yes, I totally know that you don't have to convince me. This is being recorded and it is on the internet, so great. But I know that it's the devil. And again, I've already told you my philosophy. I'm willing to pay a little bit because I'm going to turn that one person into, here's a perfect example. We got a Zillow Flex lead from a client, and we currently have 5 of her family members under contract plus her. I'm only paying the referral fee on 1. So that, and if you're going to do Zillow, you have to know how to play the game. And you've got to have automation. You've got to have a great CRM. You've got to have all of that. So that's a whole nother story. So don't get angry at me, people. Like, I know that they're the devil and I know they're opening a brokerage, and I'm going to play the game as long as I can while I build the heck out of my other lead sources. Okay. Like, I am going deep into my farm. I'm going deep into my database. I'm going deep into every other lead source, and I'm going to play the game. At some point, I'll probably get a little bit burned. I get pissed at them on a weekly basis, but that's just my philosophy. So anyways, this is lead follow-up. All the leads that you get at an open house, by the way, when should you get a lead at an open house? When should you follow up with them? 5 minutes. That's a great philosophy, right? Right after they go out, our CRM, or what CRM do you use?
I'm
brand new. Okay. So definitely want to get a CRM. What brokerage are you with?
I'm at EFG with EXP.
Okay, KV Core. You have KV Core.
KV Core, yes.
Perfect. Yes. Okay. I love it. Okay, so KV Core is absolutely amazing. You can set it up that actually with open houses with KV Core, they can actually sign in, and then you already have the lead in there. And when you have the lead source open house, you can set them up on an automatic campaign. So again, you're just doing your open house, working the open house. KV Core, beautiful automation, sends them, thank you so much for stopping by our open house. Do you have any feedback for the seller? By the way, would you like a list of homes for sale in the area? Like, you can just like boom, boom, boom. What I don't want to see is don't wait days to follow up with leads. Like, don't, right? That's the number one thing. Follow up, follow through. So don't wait days. You want to follow up that same night. in the morning, but don't go more than 24 hours without following up and recognizing that they came in and that you did whatever you said that you were going to do, which is probably look for some homes for them. So follow up. If you're early in your career, you're not going to have a ton of follow-up, right? Like you're going to be spending way more time on this upper section, lead gen, and your follow-up's going to be really small. For most agents, you need to be doing at least 4 to 5 hours a week, right? We call it an hour of power. And that's, mainly consists around following up with leads, following up. And follow-up calls go something like this. If there are internet leads, you're going to make 25 calls and you're going to talk to 2 people, right? If people don't answer their phone. So you want to have a multi-channel approach. Let your CRM handle all of the email through automation. You just text and you call, try to get a hold of them as much as you can. But again, the conversation ratio on here is right around 5. Like when you're doing lead follow-up, you're probably not going to talk to more than 5 people. You're going to make a ton of calls. That's why honestly, it's why agents get burnt out and they stop doing what they're supposed to do, is because they're like, oh, I called like 20 people and nobody answered. And I'm like, yes, and keep doing it, right? Like we get to make an astronomical amount of money. We just have to put in a little bit of effort and discipline.
It's like,
Go ahead.
as far as like the dial outs of getting to call 20 and being like, yeah, I don't want to dial anymore. I'm not going to use the phone. But it's like the more dial outs you make, the closer you're getting to that person answering. So you need to focus on, I've gotten this many, someone's about to answer.
It's a numbers game. It's absolutely a numbers game. So if the audience online didn't hear what he said, is the more dial outs that you make, the closer you're getting to the appointment, right? Which we're going to talk about your number here in a second, which is perfect. So currently I'm sitting at 64 conversations a week. I don't know if that's going to be enough or not for my income goal. So let's just keep going and I'll tell you. So next I need to decide what my average sales price. On our team, our average sales price is $327. We sell in Santan, we sell in Maricopa, we sell in Chandler Gilbert, Queen Creek, right? So if you're just like Chandler, it's probably in the 4s, right? Like the low 4s. Same thing. If you're in Queen Creek, it's probably 350-ish. If you're in Santan, it's probably 250. Although I could not find more than like 5 properties under 300,000 in Santan. It's just crazy. So be conservative. Again, don't say your average price point is $1 million, right? Like let's be conservative. And if you're brand new, I would probably go 325 because you're probably going to sell some 600s and you might sell some Santan homes because it's affordable, right? You know what I mean? So I'm just going to go 330. And this is asking, how many weeks am I going to work? So this is assuming 48 weeks. I'm taking a month off. And if it's going to be less than that, again, be realistic, right? Are you going to take more than 4 weeks off? Okay, put it in here. You can take more time off. You just have to plan it. But I'm going to go ahead and leave this at 48 weeks. So that puts me at 3,072 conversations for the year. And here's where you are going to have some fun and it's going to really blow your mind. So now we have to figure out, what is your conversation per sale number? Meaning, how many conversations do I have to get an escrow? It really depends on your lead source. So if you're working your database exclusively, your number is going to be lower. But if you're a brand new agent, your skills might not be as good. So you're going to be somewhere between 40 and 60 if you're just working your database. So between 40 and 60 people, every 40 to 60 people you talk to, you're going to get a new escrow. That's like rough, okay? When you start to add open houses and colder lead sources, that number goes up, and that's okay. You can always adjust for it by skill, right? Just get better at converting.
It also depends on the individual. So I get where you're going with the numbers. But...
And this is why I track my number. When I first started in real estate, my number was 100. I knew, and here's the funny thing, Angela Fazio was my coach. And so she was track your numbers. And so it was so cool when I finally figured out what my number was, and it was like 100. And I told her, I remember on our coaching call, I was like, Angela, every 100 people I talk to, I get a paycheck. And to your point, when I'm making those calls and it just sucks, I knew, oh, I'm at 68. only this much more until I get to 100. And then I know it's a numbers game. We're in a contact sport, right? The more people we talk to, the more opportunity you have. And that's where most agents go wrong, is they just don't talk to enough people. So I would say on here, be conservative. If you're a newer agent, even if you've got great skills, you just have to talk to a lot of people to get those conversations to flow, to get to an appointment, and appointments lead to, contracts lead to closing. So I would just put here, let's start at 120. Let's say that I'm 120 conversations. Here's where the math gets super fun. I'm at 120 conversations per sale based on what I'm willing to do. So that's 5, 9, 10, 13. 13 hours of lead follow-up and lead generation means that I will sell 26 homes, and that's about 8.4 million in volume, and I'm going to make 211,000 in gross commission income. And this is based on a 2.5%. So I was conservative here because some pay 3, some pay 2.5. So I just did 2.5 to be, again, I'd rather be conservative than overinflate my numbers. I'd rather work harder and be pleasantly surprised than not work hard enough and be frustrated. So that's pretty cool. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's 13 hours of lead generation. It doesn't include my appointments, but it includes all of my lead generation and all of my follow-up. Now, again, I'm a mom of 7. So do I have enough time? Again, I get rid of all my excuses. But let's say that I know with everything that's going on, I can't do that. So the only way I can change, and let's say that 211 isn't enough, because this doesn't, I could come in here and minus my cap, right? Take my cap out, and then take out my expenses. What are my monthly expenses? So then I know what my net is. I do encourage you guys to do that. Go in, add to this document, take out your cap, take out your expenses so that you know what you're dealing with and if it's enough. But here's what's cool. Let's say that I just got a little bit better. Let's say that I just, only had to talk to 110 people. So that's 26 units, 211,000. Now I'm making 230,000, and I'm selling more, but I'm not increasing my hours that I'm working, right? I didn't increase my hours. I'm still working 13 hours. I just got better skills. So this is my plug, that if you're not currently role playing, start role playing, start practicing scripts. I know it sucks. It's super uncomfortable, but it's how you get better. It's how you learn how to dance. And the conversation is a dance that you play. Mostly just be a good person, and I'm sure you'll be fine. Don't be a sleaze bag, and you'll be fine. Be a good person, do good customer service, and you'll be fine. So you'll go through and you do this. I'm pretty happy with this, but I'll go back and say that I'm 120 and that I am going to work 13 hours. If you're not happy with this number, the only way you can change that is to increase the amount of hours that you're going to prospect, get better conversion, or increase your price point, right? You just increase your price point. But this is how now I know, I know what it's going to take to make 211,000. It's going to take me 13 hours. And of that 13 hours, 8 hours is lead gen. I'm lead generating for at least 8 hours. Now, because I'm going to track my numbers, by the end of January, if it's not 120, I got to go back to the drawing board. That's why I wanted you guys to come to this class and to use this, is so that you can see, what is it really going to take? Your business plan is not something that you design and then don't look at again. I want you tracking your numbers and coming back and saying, hey, great news. I'm actually at 78 people, per appointment, and then, X amount of appointments per sale. So this is designed for you to come back, tweak, and change. But let's also then throw in a hiccup. And let's say that, well, heck, guess what, Kristi, Jencks? Chandler School District decided they're no longer going to allow in-person school. So you're going to have to homeschool an entire school at your house and sell homes. That happened, right? That happened to me this year. So am I going to be able to do all this prospecting? Maybe not. Maybe my schedule is going to change. What would I would do? I'd come back to my business plan and say, hey, this is my reality. My reality is I've got too many kids and I'm supposed to be their teacher now, and I've got to figure out how to make this work. I'm probably going to have to take out some time and change things up. So from here, where we go next is we have to get this into a schedule, right? This is all fine and dandy. We know the numbers, but we've got to get into a schedule. So now I want you to open up a calendar. I'm just going to pull up a random calendar. from the resources, actually. Oh, I did this last time. I stopped sharing, but I want you to pull up a calendar. So that way you have, and I'm going to share with you just a couple ideas around calendaring and how to make all of that work. I want you to drop into there. There we go. Okay, so let me go back over here to share my screen. You should have your calendar. Stop screen share, share screen, and we're going to share that one. Okay, so how do I make that bigger for you guys? Remind me to change the color on this, Kelsey. This is hard to see. If you're here, I apologize in advance. We'll change the colors on this for next time. But okay, so you've got a calendar out in front of you. You've got a hypothetical of how many hours it's going to take. So let's go through your calendar real quick and let's figure out how you're going to get the hours that you need. So the first thing that I always encourage you guys to do when figuring out your calendar is the first thing that goes on your calendar is your personal things. Because, well, just curious, how many of you have kids? Okay, kids. How many of you have pets? Pets? No. You have a job. You have a real estate job, right? You have dentist appointments. You have doctor's appointments, right? Like, so if you're not taking care of somebody else, you're still taking care of yourself, and you set appointments, right? So if I've got to pick up my daughter, if on my calendar today is to pick up my daughter at like 4:30 from cheer. I'm not going to miss that appointment because that means that an 8-year-old girl is just going to be sitting out in front of the school with nobody, right? Like, that's kind of important. So should it be on my calendar or should I just remember it? On the calendar, absolutely. So the first thing that goes on your calendar, your personal stuff. So what is that? That's the appointments that you have with your family, with your going on a date night, going to a doctor's appointment, going to a dentist appointment, veterinary appointment, whatever it is. If it's happening, it should be on your calendar. Most agents don't do that. They say, oh yeah, I'm getting together with my friends. And I'm like, oh, cool. It's not on your calendar. So get that stuff on your calendar because otherwise you're either never going to go on a date night because you're always going to be doing real estate, or you're never going to prospect because you're always just putting stuff in your, doing things that are not in your calendar. So the first thing that goes on there in your calendar is all your personal things. So in this example, this was actually my calendar for homeschooling. So you can see I had homeschooling and personal appointments. I was doing some homeschooling here and, I had help and homeschool here. So I actually brought someone in to do a lot of homeschooling for me. So I had 3 homeschooling blocks, starting them out on the week, making sure midweek checkup, and then homeschool wrap up on Friday afternoon. So that was a big part of my personal life that had to be in my calendar. So after that, the second thing is that all those hours of lead gen and lead follow-up. So that's got to go in there. So you got to figure out, when am I going to make my calls? So you can see I've got a call session. Well, that's seller. Oh, here's an hour of power. HOP stands for hour of power. I'm going to make calls here. I'm going to make calls here. I'm going to make calls here. I'm doing a big call session right here. I've set aside time for appointments here, appointments here, appointments here. So I've got my lead generation in here. The only thing, and I've got some time blocked out for appointments on Saturday as well. The only thing that's not in here that I did have in my business plan was my open houses. So that's where I said, like, whatever lead sources you have, now you go into your calendar and you say, okay, so this is a call session. This is that 2 hours of cold calling that I mentioned in my business plan. These hour of powers, these are the hours that I spent doing lead follow-up, right? So every hour is accounted for in terms of where. And the only thing that's not on here that I would need to change would be my open house. I would need to have my open house on here so that I could hit the 13 hours, right? So once your lead generation and lead follow-ups on your calendar, well, then there's still like other stuff like checking emails and going on appointments and things like that. So I like to funnel my clients into appointment slots, and that's why I have those. So here's the number one mistake that I made when I first got into real estate, and we'll take a Saturday. So one of the first mistakes that I made is they're like, yeah, let's go out on Saturday. Perfect. What time do you want to go out? And they would say something like, I want to go out at 10:30. Okay, well, 10:30 is a great time. But guess what happens if I go out at 10:30 according to this calendar? Now I've just eliminated another potential buyer spot that I could have put in. So I truly funnel my clients. And when I say funnel, I almost want you to think of like how they herd cattle, you know, how they put them through chutes to get to where they want. So I use some simple scripts and I'll say, oh, perfect. Are weekdays or weekends better? So weekdays or weekends, instead of just saying, what day would you like to go? I'm completely available. I have no appointments. No one would want to work with me. Imagine if you tried to set up an appointment with a doctor and he's like, I am wide open. When do you want to have your surgery? I've got no surgery scheduled. You would be running for the hills, right? So we don't want to give, even if you don't have any appointments, you don't want to give the illusion that you have no appointments. You want to say, okay, so weekdays or weekends, which one's better? And then if you don't work Sunday, don't offer Sunday, right? Whatever it is, weekdays or weekends, perfect. Afternoons or evenings. Notice I don't schedule appointments in the morning at all. Like mornings are just strictly for me. The only time I deviate from that is if it's planned because I have an out-of-state client coming in that you know is working on a condensed search schedule. And even then, I won't schedule before 9. Right? So I still get a semblance of my morning and I'll start at 9. So, but that's rare. Most of the time I'm able to kind of funnel people in. So I'll say, okay, perfect. Afternoons or evenings. Oh, evenings are perfect. Okay. Well, I do have a 3 o'clock or a 4, or let's see, I have a 2 o'clock or a 3 o'clock. Which one would be better? You know, so I'm going to give them some options and I'm going to funnel them to where I want. It's the illusion of choice, right? It's the illusion of choice. I'm still getting them to where I want them. And it's not like, because here's what happens is if someone asked you what time, you would think about when you have time. You don't know my obligations. You don't know I've got to pick up my daughter at 4:30 from cheer, right? So that's why I need to control your options, right? I need to control. So for him, I'd be like, perfect, afternoons or evenings. He says evenings. Okay. Oh, perfect. So I do have a time slot tomorrow, or I could do 6 o'clock tonight, or we could do tomorrow at 4. Which one would be better? Right? You had something to say.
Well, it's because it's he who controls the call, controls the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so much of a call as even in person. So
Yep.
You're making sure that even though you're funneling and you're making it good for you, you're also controlling them and they're not controlling you because all of a sudden they're going to run ragged.
Well, and think of how disappointed you'd be like, oh, can we go out today at 4:30? Because I said, yeah, when do you want to go? Today at 4:30. Oh man, I'm so sorry. And then you say, okay, how about tomorrow at 10? Actually, I've got soccer tomorrow at 10. You're gonna be like, well, when does this woman work? She's got cheer, she's got soccer, and you're gonna get disappointed. So instead, I just say afternoons or evenings. Evenings, okay, perfect. I got a 6 o'clock tonight, or I can do tomorrow, and I'll just come over here at 3 or 4, right? And it's like boom, boom, boom. So that's why I want you to have some intentions. If I don't have an appointment, that doesn't mean I just go watch Netflix, right? Like, so if it is Tuesday and I don't have an appointment, most likely what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit more lead generation. I'm maybe going to work on some marketing. I'm going to do something else. And if I'm not hitting my conversation goal because I'm tracking, then I know I've got to get more conversations. So the other things that you would see in my calendar, though, just like to sum it up, the other things you're going to see is the projects that I'm working on, right? So again, if you have a goal, and we're not even really going into SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, timely, relevant, all of that. How you set goals. I'm just like, we're not even going there because that's a great class too. But if I want to achieve something, it's got to be on my calendar. So that's what I really want you guys to internalize is that don't just write it out. Take the next step and put it on your calendar. Otherwise, it's just a procrastination list. Because that's what's going to happen is it's going to go from your to-do list is just going to keep going on and on and on from day to day. So take your to-do list and put it into your calendar. The likelihood that it'll get done greatly increases. Okay, so that is that. Let me see if I close this down. I think this is my slide. Yeah, calendar. Perfect. Okay, so we're switching gears a little bit, and I know that's not nearly enough time, but this is just to get your juices flowing for when you sit down and really internalize the numbers. Get your budget out, do all of that. So let's talk about how do we build these lead sources and what does it look like? And that kind of is where we switch gears and let's talk about lead pillars. And I'm going to give you some hypotheticals. Again, you don't have to choose these lead pillars, but I just want to give you some ideas of how you can develop these lead pillars. And I just want you to keep in mind, what is your brand, And actually it was so cool. Tish was here talking about, your brand. Let's make sure that you're not being that secret agent. Let's make sure that your voice is being heard, that you are developing your mind and growing and learning. And of course that you're coming from a good place, right? There are unfortunately some bad agents out there, and they give all of us bad names, which is why I literally had a client tell me, well, I just think real estate is a sleazy industry. And I was like, okay, well, I find that really offensive because I am not sleazy. And my goal is to put out those agents out of business, right? Like that's my goal. So make sure you're following through and you follow up and you do what you say you're going to do. And then obviously have a smile on your face because that just makes it better. So let's take, this is an example. I'm going to take you guys through one lead source and how you can develop a plan. Again, I like to work in 90-day cycles. So we're going to start thinking like macro for the year, and then we're going to go micro and put it into a quarter and into a month. So the lead source, and by the way, again, all these resources are on that page. You can get these templates and do that. So the lead source or the lead pillar is past clients, current clients, center of influence. That's what that stands for. Past client, current client, center of influence. And we're going to do 40 from that. I just put that down there. So let's talk about the marketing plan. And these are all examples that we'll go over. So the marketing plan, that's you doing things. Okay, not lead generation, but it's you doing things. So what's in here for my past clients? Well, I'm going to do a newsletter. Right? So I'm going to do an email newsletter. Email is the channel that I'm choosing to communicate. And the marketing is the email. So it's an email, and I don't do weekly. I do monthly, but that's just me. So you've got to decide how many times should you reach out to your database annually? In my opinion, it is like at least 12. Sometimes I think it's too much if you do more than that, right? Like it just gets a lot. But again, you know your tribe, you know your people, so you kind of figure that out. For me, it's 12, so I do one a month, and it's an email that comes out, and mine is a video-based email. It has a market update, and it's got something funny because I just like to bring humor into everything. So that's one channel of marketing. The next channel that I'm choosing to do is a Google Display Network. So I'm going to do Google Display Ads, which just means that I am basically targeting my database. You can take your database and upload it to Facebook or upload it to Google and create a custom audience that you can then run your ads to. Why is that important? Because let's say that your friends are thinking of getting a new build and they're seeing all these Lennar or Toll Brothers ads and they're just gonna pop by. Right? Well, that's happened to almost every agent that they say, we didn't mean to buy a home, we just stopped by, and then you can't represent them, and that totally stinks. But if they're seeing you everywhere, they're like, oh my gosh, Kristi, you're all over the internet. They're going to call me, and they're also going to know because I've called them at a minimum 4 times a year, and they see my reminders, and it says, if you're thinking about a new build, contact me because I know the best deals, and I know who has homes available, right? Like I've already taught them, don't go into a new build. So Google Display Ads is one. Organic social. So another channel is going to be social media, and it's just going to be organic, what I post daily, what I'm sharing, all the silly stories. I do something called Mom Buck Mondays on my Instagram. I go live and I share all the stupid things that my kids did during the week that are hilarious. And, that's just me being me, sharing stuff. And people, I think they like it. People are watching it and commenting it, but it's just me being me, right? Like I do Mom Bucks anyways. I'm just now making it part of my marketing plan to stay in front of my sphere, because how cool is it? And then I see you in the grocery store and you're like, oh my gosh, Mom Buck Mondays is hilarious. How many fricks did you get this week? Because this week we're tracking the word frick because my kids are fake swearing, and like an 8-year-old saying freaking all the time is not so good. So we're tracking that, and we're kind of doing that. So anyways, that is one channel of social media. How many times should you be posting on social media? Well, there's 2 different avenues. There's one-to-one and there's one-to-many. When you just post on social, that's one-to-many. When I DM you or PM you, depending on the platform, and say, like my birthday was on Wednesday. My birthday was on Wednesday. And I had a ton of people on social, people that I didn't even know, like personally met, that went into my inbox and sent me a happy birthday. Thank you. And so here's what's really cool about this, okay? Let's say that we were social media friends. Are we social media friends? we are going to be now. And let's say we hadn't met in person, but we're social media friends. And let's say that you're my neighbor and we're like really friends. So most likely he's always commenting on my stuff. I'm commenting on him. So Facebook knows that we're actually in a relationship. Like we have a friendship, not just Facebook friends, but you and I are just Facebook friends. And so now I send you a little private message and I say, hey, how's it going? It was so great to see you in class. I hope we can connect soon. And then you respond, thanks so much. I really love the resources. Now Facebook says, hey, they're in a relationship. They're not just Facebook friends. Now you will start to see all of my content more. Ever notice how you only have a certain amount of people that are always commenting? That's because Facebook is feeding them that algorithm. How do you mess with the algorithm? You private message them, because then Facebook says they're in a relationship. So a ton of people private messages for my birthday. They're going to start seeing all my content. I'm like, yes, I love having a birthday. And now I get all this extra free organic exposure, right? And that's the one-on-one. So you should plan in your database to social media, direct message contact. Also, liking and commenting on posts is also how you mess with the algorithm. But you've got to be super intentional. A comment is also 4 words or more. So if it's not more than 4 words and it's just like 3 emojis, I don't know for certain, but the last time I spoke to a really awesome Facebook guru, they told me it was 4 words or more.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, so at least 4 words, and I don't know if 4 emojis count, but at least 4 words is a comment, and that kind of boosts your relationship with that person. You'll see more of their content, they'll see more of your content. And why is that important? Because I just want to stay top of mind. I don't want to be the sleazy realtor that's always like, so do you have a referral? Do you have a referral? Do you have a referral? No, I want you to be like, oh my gosh, Mom Muck Monday was so hilarious. And I can't believe your girls have gotten so big. And did Red really crack his head open? Like, all the stupid things that I'm posting about. Oh, and by the way, I sold this house and I sold this house and I sold this house. It's kind of that whole, I follow Gary Vaynerchuk. He's one of my favorite. He talks about, it's like jab, 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 right hook. Right? So jab, 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 family, fun, my team, right hook, sold a home, jab, 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 right hook. That's how I set up my social media, and it's not so like overt and in your face. So that's a channel. Gifts, annual gifts. So do client appreciation events, pie giveaways. Again, this is just part of my plan. Postage, mailing, or I like to call it snail mail. So in my opinion, you should be snail mailing your clients a minimum 4 times a year. I do have some coaching clients that do 12 times a year, and it's epic. And then the next question there was like, well, what do I snail mail them? The answer is, so with this group, this lead source in particular, what you got to remember is these are my past clients. These are my center of influence, my sphere. So I'm going to send you a birthday card. And it's not creepy that I'm asking you your birthday, because we're in a relationship, right? Even if it's a business relationship. So I just close a home with you and I say, hey, so one of the things that I love to do is I love to send birthday cards. I'd love to get your birthday and the kids. I don't need the year, just the date. And then they give me their birthdays and I put it into my calendar and I send everybody in the house a birthday card. Well, that could be like 4 pieces of snail mail already. But then I also do home anniversaries. So if you buy a house with me, then every year I send you a home anniversary. Christmas cards. So I'm going to send a Christmas card out for me, or happy holidays, whatever it is, right? Like if you celebrate Kwanzaa, celebrate Kwanzaa, right? Like for my Jewish friends right now who, they're sending out, Hanukkah and, all of the different things. Again, if you celebrate Chinese New Year, that's what you send to your clients, right? Because it's authentic to you. So that's like 6 pieces right there. I also do something called a letter from the heart. And I do that in July, kind of as a pattern interrupt, because a lot of people are getting Christmas cards. So it's not like I'm all original sending a Christmas card. And I do want to stand out and see sameness, as Tish said. So I send a really funny, I don't write it, Kelsey writes it for me because she I just like dictate, and then she turns it into brilliance because she's an incredible writer. But we send out this newsletter about the Jencks family and all the things that happened in the Jencks family. Why do I share so much about my family? Obviously because I love my family. It's a big part of our journey in life. It was adopting these kids and becoming foster parents, and that's my tribe, right? Like if you don't like kids, you probably don't like me, and that's okay. I don't need to work with you. Right? Like I don't need to be everything to everybody. I just need to be myself, and the people who vibe with me are going to vibe with me, and that's great. So if I turn off some people because I shared too much about my family, great. I don't really want to work with you. I want to work with people who like kids. And even if you don't like kids and you just think it's funny, then I want to work with you. Right? So snail mail, I believe, is an important part. People, my coaching clients are always like, oh, I just don't know. And I'm like, just shut up and do it. It works. It absolutely works. And it's handwritten. No, I do not put my business card in my happy birthdays. So I don't put my business card in my happy birthdays. It's just, I buy them on bulk in Amazon, and I just, hey, have a great birthday. I hope you get to eat something yummy and your family spoils you, right? Love the Jencks, or take care, the Jencks. And I send that out. Some people send, like Magnus Title sent me a birthday card, and it had a scratcher in it, which is totally cool. And I did the scratcher. I have no idea how it works, so I've got to take it to the gas station to see if I won. But I don't do scratchers, so it's not authentic to me. But if you do scratchers and you think it's fun, heck yeah. I remember every year I was with Revelation, Chuck and Angela would send me a scratcher on my anniversary of the year that I got into real estate with them. Totally fun and such a great, unique touch, right? So that's snail mail and cards and notes. If they own a home, you should be doing a CMA or a market analysis, right? That should be happening at a minimum 4 times a year. At a minimum, it's in your schedule. Let's say you didn't sell them the home. Let's say you're new in business, but you've got 40 friends that all own homes. Guess what? Do CMAs for them. And then this is what you tell them. You say, hey, I've got this crazy question. So my business coach gave me a challenge, and I've got to do 40 market reports by the end of the year. So could you do me a big favor? Would you just let me run the market numbers on your home? There's no obligation. Just let me do it. So that way, my business coach doesn't get mad, right? So I'm your business coach, and I'm challenging you guys to do a market report for every single person that you know that owns a home, and then do it every quarter until they hire you to sell their home. Yep, CMA. I like to call it an equity update. Do it for your neighbors. Anybody that you want to work with. If you don't like your neighbor, don't do it for your neighbor, unless you're trying to get them to move. But everybody that you know that owns a home, who cares if you didn't sell them the home? People want to know what their home is worth. That's why Zillow is in business, because they tell people what their home is worth. And you and I all know that the Zestimate is wrong. Okay, so it's the craziest thing, but people want to know. So those are different channels. So when you're thinking marketing, I want you to be thinking online, snail mail, email, calling, all of that. Now in lead generation or prospecting down here, you can see I've got my calls and my voicemails quarterly. So my prospecting plan for my database is I'm going to call quarterly, and then I'm going to do social media, direct messages, private messages semi-annually. Right? My networking, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing my Facebook group. Maybe I'm doing giveaways or have a VIP group. I'm going to be commenting socially on social media. When we can do events again, we're doing events. We're having parties. I'm just being active in this group of people. Zoom happy hours, that kind of stuff. And the follow-up plan is just repeated communication. Okay? So that's one example. Let's look at agent to agents. We did not put that in there, but guys, there is a massive mass exodus from California and Oregon, and you should make some friends in those states because they're moving here, whether you like it or not. Oregon. Those are just 2. Chicago is also another big state. So the biggest ones, the last time I checked, the biggest one was LA County, San Diego County, and then the Portland, Seattle area. Like that whole, it's a lot of things going on, and Arizona looks really nice. We can eat in restaurants. We can, I think it's just a little bit of different climate. So the biggest source of business that I like, and when we look at our lead pillars, is past client repeat referral. Our second largest source is agent to agent referrals. So either outgoing or incoming. So where are the people in Maricopa County moving to? Go to census.gov, find out where they're coming from and where they're going, and then go meet some awesome agents. Start networking. So here's my plan real quick. I'm going to send a monthly email that is, just usually a tip or a trick. You guys are now going to get my emails if you registered for this class. Surprise! So I foiled my own plan. So yes, you guys are going to get my monthly email. I promise it's not spammy. It's actually super helpful. This next one that I'm going to be sending out is my top 5 books that I recommend for 2021. So it's just like fun, easy content. It's usually in the form of a video. And so monthly email. I'm not doing a Google display ad right now, but it would be really cool if I was targeting agents in LA so that they could send me their referrals. Social media, obviously, cards, notes, agent YouTube channels, networking, just being involved in the Facebook groups like Arizona Forum Facebook group, but you want to be involved in the Facebook groups of the people in different areas, right? Of course, follow-up plan, and then prospecting plan is just making calls. Agents don't answer their phones, so you're probably going to send messages. Private messages, direct messages, social media, texting, that's the idea. So this is where it's like, I now know what I'm doing. Because remember, how many times am I calling every person in my database per my plan? 4 times quarterly. So down at the bottom left, I'm calling 4 times. How many times am I calling or messaging the people in my agent to agent group? Semi-annually, right? So this is where now I know what I'm supposed to do. And it's already in my calendar because we did that in the previous step. So here's another lead source, the GeoFarm. So what should we be doing for marketing in our GeoFarm? And if you're a new agent, I would start out with all sweat equity and very little check equity. Sweat equity is the stuff that you do for free, door knocking, open housing, that kind of stuff. Check equity is like where you literally write a check to, get some business. So an email, opt-in, how do you get email addresses? You got to build that over time. But yes, anybody that I have an email address, then I'm going to be sending out monthly emails. Google Display Network would be perfect for a farm, and it's very inexpensive. Postage, if you're going to do postage, write this down, EDDM, every door direct mail. You also shouldn't start a farm until you talk to somebody who has started a farm and you run the numbers. I do have some information on that I'm happy to share because there are some things that you need to know. Like you can't just pick a neighborhood and say, yeah, this is going to be my farm. You want to know the turnover rate, meaning how many homes sell annually. What's the total addressable market? Is there an agent that's already dominant, right? You want to have some statistics before you just go pick a farm. So what else am I going to do? Organic social media, paid social media. If some people do billboards, I've got several clients that do billboards and they do really well. We don't really have billboards around here to do. It's not an Arizona thing. YouTube, yes, YouTube streaming ads absolutely would be good. Radio ads, podcast, things like that. So again, it's just the channels. What are the channels that I'm going to use to market to people, to get in front of them? And then of course, networking, virtual events, HOA events, any community events, anything that's going on that you can do. Next door, obviously, Facebook groups, be super involved. And then for prospecting, well, yeah, if you have a geographic farm, you should be working the expireds and the first sell by owners because it makes sense they're in your farm. Circle dialing, if you're going to cold call and circle dial and prospect into a neighborhood. And then door knocking, and I don't know why it's not on here, but open housing. So door knocking and open housing are all ways that you would lead generate in your farm. And per my business plan, I put in 4 hours of open housing a week. So I could do a 2-hour open house and 2 hours of door knocking. But the point is that 4 hours a week I'm spending working on my farm. So the last part of your business plan is, so we figured out how many hours it's going to take to generate the money that we want. We figured out our budget and how much we need to net. So do I need to increase my prospecting hours? Do I need to work on my conversion rate? Do I need to increase my price point? Right? There's only a couple things I can do to get that net amount that I want. Then we built out at least 4 lead pillars, and we decided, what am I going to do for marketing? And what am I going to do for lead generation? What am I going to do for networking? And what's my follow-up plan? Follow-up plan takes place in your CRM, that's going to save you tons and tons and tons of time. So now you might say, okay, well, I've got a gap, right? Let's say that he wants to start a farm. He's a brand new agent. It's like, I've got a gap. I put together this awesome business plan. I know how many hours it's going to take. And I want to do a geographic farm, but I don't have a farm. Well, so that's where we have a project now. So he has a project. And one of the first things would be determine the geographic farm, right? So the first thing is I need to determine my geographic farm. So what will I do then by when, and what's the priority, right? So one of his Q1, and actually he would start this now, it would be a 2020 Q4 project, is he's going to determine the geographic farm, which means he's got to figure out, where he wants to work. Does he want to work his neighborhood? Maybe he wants to work his neighborhood. So he runs the numbers, he figures out how many total homes and then how many homes sold that year. So what's the turnover rate? It needs to be over 6%. Does it make sense? Is there a dominant agent in the market? So he's got to do that. Then he's got to decide if he's going to do mailers. He doesn't know, so he's got to look into EDDM. This is a project, right? Like, it's not just going to present itself. So you're going to have projects for all of this. And maybe his goal is that by Q2, he's doing mailers. So in Q1, he's just really understanding the market data. He's understanding the layout of the community, and he's prepping all of the marketing pieces. But it's still a project. And your projects, if they're not in your business plan, so maybe by Q3 is when he's going to do some client event, right? So for his database, he's going to do a client event at his house, right? Like, or something like that. That would be a project. And so that's why we say, what will I do, by when, and how important is it? Because you're going to be pulled in a lot of different directions. In the beginning, you just spend a lot of time lead generating. Then all of a sudden you get to a point where you're going on all these appointments and everything else falls aside. And that's where most agents have that roller coaster business of money, no money, money, no money. So everything that we've gone over today is in bowling, right? I'm trying to put up some guardrails so you don't have a gutter ball every quarter or every month. And really, if you just plan out Q1 right now for 4 lead pillars, think how refreshing it's going to be when January hits and you already know. Like, you're like, okay, let's go. Because in January, I'm calling these 50 people. I'm snail mailing these 50 people. Like, say it's your database. I'm calling these 50 people. I'm snail mailing these people. And then I'm going to set up 3 lunch appointments and 2 dinner appointments, right? And then for my farm, I'm doing 4 open houses. And I'm door knocking this flyer, which is did you know that the X neighborhood in average appreciation rate was X, right? So you're just like, you go into January liberated because you already know what you're doing. And then the same thing for February. You're like, sweet, I called all those people. So now February, I'm on to the next group because I call all of my database quarterly. So the projects don't go out too far. We're just looking at Q1. What do you need to do to get into place, right? If you don't have a farm, then, maybe January is really spent developing the marketing pieces for February and March and kind of finalizing the rest of the stuff, your brand, your logo. But you've always got to get those lead generation in there. So one of my favorite quotes is by Jim Rohn. And my kids hate this because I say it all the time, all the time. Oh, really? If you really want to do something, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. Whatever number is kind of rattling around in your head or that you wrote down when I told you to kick out the negative thoughts of what you could actually achieve, like whatever that number is financially, whatever vision you have of yourself for 2021, you will find a way or you'll find an excuse. Like, it's legitimately how it's going to happen. And I've seen it even this year. People think, it's 2020 has been a wash for real estate agents. Most of my clients are having their best year ever. Everybody on my team has increased their production from last year to this year. So it does matter your circumstances, but you'll either find a way or you're finding an excuse. Like my friend who said, if I have to pass out business cards at the gas station, I'm that committed. I'm not just interested in making it in real estate. Because I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of people that have been interested, and that's why the failure rate in real estate is so high. Don't be interested. be committed. So again, to get to the resources, bighelpertraining.com, you can learn more about our team. We are looking to bring on a couple agents to the team before 2021. So if you're thinking about a team, if you're not, and a team's not for everybody, that's why we will say, hey, yeah, you should probably go do your own thing, or we might be a good fit. You can learn more about our team at bighelpergroup.com. The class is over, but I'm here to answer any questions that you guys might have. Or if you have questions on the chat. We've still got some people on the chat. Let me know, and I'll answer any questions you guys have. Social media. So she asked, what does SM stand for? Social media. And on the resources, everything that I showed on the slides, I have resources for. So you'll be able to go in and look at them. If you have any questions, my contact information's in there. You can say, or if you want me to look at your business plan, I'll be happy to do a quick glance at your business plan, see if I see any gaps. The thing is, and you should probably do this now, go into your calendar and say, okay, when am I going to review my business plan, right? Because the business plan is not something we just like do and then put off to the side. It's a working, living, breathing document. And you should make adjustments throughout the year, and realistic adjustments. And that's why we go with the numbers, right? Don't just like throw some numbers on the wall and hope they stick. Backwards map it and see if it makes sense and if you have that much time. So awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys coming. I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast. Oh, I promised Tish that I would put her little card. So on that personal branding, let me unshare and we'll go big. So Tish's information is right here on personal branding. So you can make sure to check out her information. Don't be a secret agent. Get out there and work. Have a great day.